I stood frozen in the living room, clutching an old radio, the familiar melody of a song I used to sing to my daughter every night filling the air. But then, something stopped me cold. The lyrics, those words once etched deep in my mind, had vanished as if they'd never existed. I tried to recall them, desperately grasping for each note from my memory, but all I found was a chilling void. It wasn't the first time. Lately, moments like these have been creeping in more often, like tiny cracks spreading through my mind. I began to notice my memory wasn't as sharp as it used to be. Some days I'd walk into the kitchen and forget why I was there. Other times I'd stare at a close friend's name in my phone and draw a blank on when we last met. Small things like misplacing my keys or retelling a story I'd already shared started turning into bigger worries. I wondered, is this a sign of something worse? Am I losing precious pieces of my life? That fear wasn't just about memory, it was about losing the person I used to be. But then something miraculous happened. In the midst of feeling lost in my own mind, I stumbled upon a solution so simple, it's hard to believe. No pills, no complicated or expensive methods. Just a small change to my morning routine, a meal I jokingly call my magic breakfast. After just 5 days, I felt like a part of me had been reawakened. My mind grew clearer, and memories I thought had faded sparkled back to life, like sunlight breaking through after a storm. I know you might be thinking, how could a breakfast change so much? That's exactly what I'm going to share with you today. I'll tell you precisely what I did, why it worked, and how you can try it to feel the difference yourself. But first, I want to connect with you. Have you ever felt your memory slipping? A moment that made you worry about your mind? Share it in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. And if you feel a spark of hope in what I'm about to share, hit that like button and make sure to subscribe with the bell icon so we can explore how to reclaim clarity and live more fully every day. Join me on this journey. I promise to guide you step by step, not just to boost your memory, but to rediscover the joy in life's little moments. As we cross the threshold of 60, our bodies start telling the stories of time. Bones may weaken, hair turns gray, and wrinkles appear like badges of the years gone by. But there's one thing we often overlook until it starts to fade. Our memory, the brain, that incredible organ steering our thoughts, emotions, and memories, feels the weight of time too. Memory decline in later years is completely natural. Scientists call it cognitive aging. The neurons in our brain, those tiny cells responsible for sending signals, start to work more slowly. It's like an old car that still runs well, but isn't as fast as it once was. You might notice small signs like the tip of the tongue feeling, when you know exactly what you want to say, but the words slip away. For example, you might struggle to recall the name of an actor from a favorite movie or the name of a restaurant you visited years ago, as if it's stuck at the edge of your mind. I remember standing in front of my bookshelf, searching for a book I'd read dozens of times. I knew it was there, but I couldn't recall the title or author. I stood there, confused, as if my memory was playing hide and seek. These moments might make you chuckle at first, but when they happen more often, they plant seeds of worry. You start to wonder, am I forgetting more than normal? Is this going to get worse? These signs aren't always cause for alarm, but some symptoms demand attention. If you start forgetting important appointments, like a doctor's visit or a loved one's birthday, that could be a problem. If you feel disoriented in familiar places, like the road to your local grocery store, or if you struggle to follow a simple conversation, these could be signs of mild cognitive impairment or, worse, the early stages of dementia. A study from Harvard University found that about 10 to 20% of people over 65 may experience mild cognitive impairment. But the good news is, we can slow this process with the right changes. The impact of these forgetful moments goes beyond losing information. It affects your emotions, confidence, and how you connect with those around you. I felt myself drifting from my family, not because I wanted to, but because I feared I couldn't keep up with their stories. The dread of losing memories of my wedding day, my child's first smile, or trips with friends pushed me to take action. I refused to sit back and accept that my memory would keep fading, and I believe you don't want that either. We can do so much more. Everything changed one autumn afternoon when I met an old high school friend at a small cafe. We'd shared countless memories, fishing trips, late-night laughs, and youthful dreams we thought would last forever. But as he walked in, his face beaming with a familiar smile, a terrible realization hit me. I couldn't remember his name. I stood there, masking my confusion, nodding and smiling, while my mind scrambled to find that name. I knew him. I could vividly recall the days we sat by the lake, talking about our futures. But his name, a vital piece of my memory, had slipped away like a breeze. The conversation carried on, and I covered it up with vague questions. But inside, I was reeling. I felt ashamed, as if a part of my history had been erased. When I got home, I sat alone in the living room, staring out the window. A wave of sadness washed over me, not just because of that moment, but because I realized it wasn't the first time. In the weeks before, I'd forgotten an old colleague's name, the date of an important anniversary, and even my wife's favorite dish. Each lapse was a small cut, and together they painted a picture I didn't want to face. I was losing myself. I couldn't let it go on. I didn't want to be someone who only lived in the present, without memories to anchor me. I didn't want my kids or grandkids to look at me with worry, or worse, distance. So I decided I had to do something. Not rushing to a doctor or reaching for expensive pills. I wanted a natural solution, something I could do myself, something that gave me back a sense of control. I started searching, unsure of what I was looking for. Maybe a food, a habit, or just a glimmer of hope. But one thing was clear. I couldn't keep letting the gaps in my mind grow wider. And in that search, I discovered a small secret, a simple, easy breakfast with the power to change how my brain worked. It wasn't magic, but it sure felt close. Join me on this journey. I promise to guide you step by step, not just to boost your memory, but to rediscover the joy in life's little moments. I used to think breakfast was just a quick ritual, a cup of coffee with some toast or a sweet cookie to fill my stomach. I was wrong. Our brain, the organ that drives every thought, emotion, and memory, needs proper nourishment, like a garden needing water and sunlight to bloom. Feed it the wrong things, and it wilts. Choose the right fuel, and it can shine again. Scientists have shown that what we eat directly impacts how our brain functions. Your brain isn't just a complex machine. It's a living organ built from fats, proteins, and other nutrients. About 60% of your brain is made of fat, and the type of fat you eat determines how well your neurons can communicate. I didn't know this, but the sugary, processed breakfasts I used to eat, like white bread, sweetened cereal, or store-bought juice, were actually harming my brain. These foods cause inflammation in the body, including the brain. Inflammation, put simply, is like a smoldering fire that slows down neural connections and clouds our memory. A study from the University of California found that diets high in sugar and trans fats can increase the risk of cognitive decline by up to 25% in people over 60. I was stunned when I read this. Those harmless breakfasts of mine were speeding up my brain's aging. On the flip side, there are foods science proves are heroes for the brain. Omega-3, a healthy fat, acts like a lubricant for neurons, helping them send signals faster and clearer. You can find omega-3 in foods like chia seeds, flax seeds, or walnuts. Then there are antioxidants, tiny warriors that protect the brain from oxidative stress, a major cause of memory decline as we age. Berries like blueberries or strawberries are packed with antioxidants, and they taste even better when you know what they're doing for your mind. Another surprise was flavonoids, natural compounds in foods like pure cocoa, turmeric, or apples. A study from Columbia University showed that flavonoids can improve memory and focus in older adults in just weeks. They boost blood flow to the brain, making you feel more alert and sharp. When I learned this, I realized the solution wasn't in pricey pills, but right in my kitchen. I just needed to choose the right foods and combine them wisely. All right, I know you're curious about this magic breakfast I've been talking about. It's not some complicated recipe or fancy ingredients. It's simple, affordable, and designed to nourish your brain from the start of the day. I call it the Mind Awakening Breakfast, and once you hear about it, I bet you'll want to try it. Here's the basic recipe I used for 5 days to change everything. Half a cup of whole oats, not the prepackaged, sugary kind, but pure oats, rich in fiber, which keep your blood sugar steady. This matters because blood sugar swings can leave you tired and foggy. 1 tablespoon of chia seeds. These tiny seeds are a treasure trove of omega-3, helping neurons communicate more smoothly. I soak them in water for a few minutes to make them easier to eat. 1 teaspoon of ground flax seeds, another omega-3 powerhouse, but make sure they're ground, as whole seeds don't digest fully. Half an apple grated. I chose apples over bananas for their natural sweetness and slight crunch. Apples are rich in fiber and flavonoids, supporting memory and heart health. A handful of berries, blueberries or strawberries. These are antioxidant superstars, shielding your brain from aging. Fresh or frozen work, depending on the season. Half a teaspoon of turmeric with a pinch of black pepper. Turmeric is a powerful anti-inflammatory, and black pepper activates its benefits. Don't worry, it doesn't change the taste much. 1 teaspoon of pure cocoa powder, unsweetened. Not sweet chocolate, but pure cocoa, loaded with flavonoids that boost brain blood flow and lift your mood. Optional, a splash of almond milk or plain yogurt. If you like a creamier breakfast, add some plant-based milk or yogurt for probiotics, which are great for the gut-brain connection. The prep is unbelievably simple. I set out the ingredients the night before, so in the morning, I just mix and enjoy. It takes 5 minutes, but it feels like I'm doing something big for myself. You can tweak the recipe to your taste. If apples aren't your thing, try pears or mango. If cocoa's too strong, swap it for a dash of cinnamon. It's good for cognition too, and adds a warm flavor. If you're allergic to seeds, add some avocado or extra virgin olive oil to keep the healthy fats. When I started eating this breakfast, I wasn't just eating to fill my stomach. I ate with intention, knowing each spoonful was telling my brain, we're taking care of you. And the best part? It's not just about memory. It's about feeling alert, present, and ready to embrace the day with a clearer mind. When I started experimenting with this new breakfast, I didn't dare hope for much. I tried all sorts of things to boost my memory, from note-taking apps on my phone to brain training exercises, but nothing gave me a real sense of change. Yet with just a simple morning bowl, I felt a fresh breeze sweep through my mind. Let me walk you through how those 5 days transformed me, day by day, and why I believe you can feel the same spark. On the first day, I woke up with a bit of skepticism. I prepared my bowl of oats, mixed with chia seeds, ground flax seeds, grated apple, berries, a pinch of turmeric, and pure cocoa. The gentle aroma of apple blending with the rich cocoa made it feel like I was doing something special, even if it was just breakfast. I ate slowly without rushing, as if sending a message to my body. Today we start fresh. Nothing magical happened right away. But by the afternoon, I noticed a small difference. Usually after lunch, my mind would feel heavy, like it was draped in fog. That day I felt lighter, as if my brain could breathe more easily. By day 2, I was getting the hang of this new routine. My hands knew how to mix the ingredients, and I even added a splash of almond milk to make the bowl creamier. What surprised me was that I no longer felt that sluggish drag into mid-morning. I decided to tackle something that usually frustrated me, organizing our family photo album. Normally, I'd get distracted, forget which picture I was looking for, or give up halfway. But this time, I worked steadily, sorting photos by year without needing my notes. When I found an old picture from my daughter's birthday, I smiled, vividly recalling every detail: the chocolate cake, the kids' laughter, and the pink dress she wore. That memory came back, clear as if it happened yesterday. By day 3, I felt a steadier shift. I woke up earlier than usual, not because of an alarm, but because my body felt ready for the day. I noticed I was sharper in conversations with my neighbor, before I'd stumble, forgetting names or losing the thread of a story. But that day I shared a tale about a beach trip from years ago, without pausing to dig for memories. My neighbor laughed heartily and said, "That's a great story." I smiled, but inside I felt a deeper joy. It wasn't just a story, it was a sign my mind was coming back. Day 4 was a turning point. My grandson called, asking about a dish his grandma used to make when he was little. In the past, I might have brushed it off, unable to recall details. but this time I answered instantly. Her pumpkin soup with a touch of cream and roasted pumpkin seeds, right? He was stunned. How do you remember that? I thought you'd forgotten. I laughed, but inside I felt proud. My mind wasn't just clearer, it was quicker. I started feeling like me again, the version I thought time had stolen away. By day 5, I was certain this wasn't a coincidence. I felt a mental energy I hadn't had in months. I began doing small things I'd avoided for fear of forgetting. Writing a letter to an old friend, rereading a favorite book, even learning a new song. When my grandson visited, he watched me solve a puzzle and said, "Grandpa, you're so quick." His words touched me deeply. It wasn't just about recalling small details. It was the feeling of living more fully, being more present in every moment. This 5-day journey wasn't magic, but it's proof that a small change, like a carefully chosen breakfast, can awaken your mind. I'm not promising you'll become a whole new person, but I believe you'll feel a difference, just like I felt the light return to my mind. You might be wondering, why can a simple bowl make such a big difference? The answer lies in how our bodies and brains work. I'm no scientist, but when I dug into what I was eating, I realized food doesn't just fuel the body, it's fuel for the mind. Let me share what I learned in a simple way so you can see why this breakfast is so powerful. First, let's talk about omega-3, a healthy fat your brain craves. Picture the neurons in your brain as tiny wires, sending signals so you can think, remember, and feel. Omega-3 is like premium oil, keeping those wires running smoothly. When I added chia seeds and ground flax seeds to my breakfast, I was giving my brain exactly this kind of fuel. A study from Tufts University found that people eating omega-3 rich foods have better memory and fewer focus issues, even in their 70s. I noticed this myself. Those tip-of-the-tongue moments happened less, and I could hold on to a thought without it slipping away. Next are antioxidants, the heroes shielding your brain from aging. As we get older, our bodies face oxidative stress, a process like rust that damages brain cells. Berries, like blueberries and strawberries, are packed with antioxidants, acting like guards protecting your brain from wear and tear. A study in Annals of Neurology showed that regular berry eaters can slow cognitive decline by up to 2.5 years. When I added a handful of berries to my bowl, I wasn't just enjoying their sweet flavor. I was building a shield for my mind. Turmeric paired with a pinch of black pepper is another secret I discovered. Turmeric contains curcumin, a powerful anti-inflammatory that tames the small fires smoldering in the brain, which contribute to memory decline. Black pepper boosts curcumin's absorption, making them a perfect duo. A study from UCLA found that curcumin can improve memory and mood in people over 60 in just weeks. Since adding turmeric to my breakfast, I've not only remembered better but felt more optimistic, as if my mind was refreshed daily. Finally, there's something I didn't expect: the gut-brain connection, or the gut-brain axis. Scientists have found that gut health directly impacts your mind. When you eat fiber-rich foods, like oats, and probiotics, like plain yogurt, you feed the good bacteria in your gut, which send positive signals to your brain. A study from Oxford University showed that a high-fiber diet can improve focus and reduce anxiety in older adults. I felt this clearly. After a few days of my new breakfast, I was not only more alert, but calmer, as if my body and mind were working together instead of against each other. On the flip side, I learned that foods I used to eat, like pastries, sugary cereals, or coffee with sweet creamer, were silent enemies of the brain. They spike blood sugar, causing energy crashes that leave you foggy and unfocused. A study from the University of Sydney found that high-sugar diets can increase brain inflammation, speeding up cognitive decline. When I swapped these for natural foods, it felt like flipping a light switch in my mind. Now that you know why this breakfast works, how do you make it part of your life? I'm not a fan of complicated routines, and I bet you aren't either. The good news? You don't need to be a chef or nutritionist to do this. I'll share the simple tips I use to stick with this habit, plus a few other ways to keep your mind sharp. First, make breakfast an easy ritual. Every night I spend 5 minutes prepping ingredients, measuring oats, chia seeds, flax seeds, and setting out berries in the fridge. I even wrote a little note that says nourish my mind and stuck it on the fridge. Every time I see it, I'm reminded I'm doing this for myself. In the morning, I just add water or almond milk, mix, and enjoy. If you're not hungry right when you wake up, don't force it. Sip a glass of warm water with a squeeze of lemon to wake your body, then eat about 30 minutes later. Consistency is key. I suggest trying this breakfast for 5 days like I did. Jot down any changes you notice. Maybe a moment you recall a small detail clearly or feel sharper in a conversation. Those notes will motivate you to keep going. If you want variety, try tweaks. Swap apples for pears or add a handful of walnuts for a nutty richness. Just keep the core ingredients. Omega-3 from seeds, antioxidants from berries, and fiber from oats. Beyond breakfast, I learned that caring for your memory isn't just about food. Other habits matter just as much. Try reading a page a day, maybe a light novel or an article about a hobby. Reading is like a gym for your mind, sparking imagination and memory. I started rereading old books, and each page brought back memories I thought were gone. Movement is also essential. You don't need to run a marathon. Just take a 20-minute walk in the park, do some gentle stretches, or dance to a favorite song. A study from the University of British Columbia found that light physical activity can boost blood flow to the brain, improving memory by up to 15% in older adults. I started walking every morning after breakfast, and I noticed I was not only more alert, but happier too. Don't forget to connect with others. Call an old friend, join a book club, or just chat with your grandkids. Social connection is one of the most powerful ways to keep your mind sharp. A University of Michigan study found that people who regularly socialize have a 70% lower risk of cognitive decline than those who stay isolated. I started calling friends weekly, and every conversation brought joy and new memories. One final note. This breakfast isn't a cure-all. If you're facing serious memory issues, like forgetting major events or feeling lost often, talk to a doctor. This breakfast is a natural support, but it works best alongside medical care if needed. Looking back on my 5-day journey, I realized something. Caring for your mind isn't about chasing miracles. It's about making small, meaningful changes. Every spoonful of oats, every berry, every pinch of turmeric in my breakfast was a promise to myself. A promise not to let time steal what makes me, me. And the best part? You can do this too. It doesn't matter if you're 60, 70, or beyond. Your brain is a marvel, capable of learning, adapting, and renewing itself if you give it a chance. Think of this breakfast as a daily gift to your mind. It's not just food. It's a way to tell yourself you deserve to live fully, with clear memories, stories to share, and smiles to give. I'm not promising you'll become a whole new person, but I believe you'll feel a difference, a clarity, a presence, and a joy you may have forgotten. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever felt your memory fading, and what worries you most? What did you take away from this story? Or do you feel a spark of hope to start fresh? Share it in the comments. I'd love to read your story, and I believe we can inspire each other. And if you have ideas for how I can make future videos better, like a new recipe or a topic you want to explore, drop them in a separate comment. Your feedback will help me create even more meaningful content. If this story touched you, if it brought a flicker of light, please hit like, share this video with those you care about, and tap the subscribe button with the bell icon. Let's build a community where we nurture our minds, cherish our memories, and live fully every day. Thank you for being here, and remember, it's never too late to rediscover yourself, to awaken your mind, and to live with the joy you deserve.